I believe the first step is having those conversations with our children, having ongoing conversations, regardless as to their age, about the importance of remaining safe. Whether it's looking in the phone settings or your video game console to ensure that your location is not active and that you're not
Mm,
disclosing your confidential information. When students like to take selfies, making sure that their surroundings it does not give away any information that's personally identifiable, like a license plate or the address to your home. All of those points need to be driven home regularly with our children. Our responsibility is to make sure our students are safe.
Hello to all of our listeners, and welcome to the Smart Social Superintendent Spotlight, where we address all kinds of really neat parent questions nationwide that we get from our millions of users, and we highlight amazing district leaders and their insights on the latest social media safety issues and just a really nice perspective on how to look at it.
My name is Dr. Penelope Martin-Knox, and I'm the proud superintendent of Raytown Quality Schools that's located in the suburbs of Kansas City, also considered to be Raytown. We are responsible for educating over 8,000 children who attend our 20 schools in this amazing community with amazing staff and parents.
Doctor, it's so great to have you here. I'm excited to spend a little bit of time talking about your best practices, your expertise, and gaining some insights that we can share nationwide with a lot of parents who watch this program, some other district leaders as well, and most of all of us who want to keep students safe on social media so they can be successful and someday shine online after the age of 16 when they're ready with their parents' permission to move into building a positive online brand and resume. We get pumped up here at smartsocial.com. I want to ask you the first big question that we get from parents, and it's around screen time, the biggest addiction that a lot of superintendents say that's out there. And I hear this all the time. Josh, if we didn't have screen time addiction, none of the other problems would happen. So let's start with the most important one. What are your tips that parents can do to better manage screen time at home?
I think to better manage screen time is to set parameters around the use of devices, whether it's the cell phone, video game, or online activities, and setting specific time within the home where students can have access, where children can have access to social media or on internet activities. I think setting a space in the home is also a great strategy to utilize where we know that these areas are where we can utilize our devices and the other areas are off limits. But I think the other piece is modeling behaviors for our children. Oftentimes, our children model what it is or repeat what it is that they see. So, we as parents need to make sure that we're modeling for our children and monitoring our own screen time as well. So, I think it begins with setting parameters, setting a time limit for our students, and making sure there's a space for activities to occur within the home.
I love that. Time limits, location, which is terrific, and modeling, all expert tips. I love that. The next question I have for you is what we cover in January here at smartsocial.com. We highlight the ways that every student can start to build an online resume, or at least learn that someday these tools that you have that your parents have given you can help you build an online brand, an online resume, and get you where you need to go. We all have these great tools. So I want to ask you about one of my signature themes, which is shining online. What advice do you have for parents and students to help students use social media in a positive way so they can get the best job someday, the best career someday, and the best college opportunities someday?
Really love that title of Shining Online because I think that is a positive use of social media. And I think parents and students need to recognize and understand that everything that they put on social media establishes your digital footprint. And so if we begin with utilizing it for the positives, whether students are in athletics or if they're in the arts or if they have a talent or a skill that's positive, that's a way you can begin to share your expertise, if you will, or your talents with others. I need students and parents to also understand that employers and colleges also look at social media to begin to search for individuals who would further enhance the company or further enhance the colleges that they may potentially attend. But I think that just continuing to remain positive, capitalizing on their talents, and shining online, as you have so eloquently labeled it. So I think that's just the beginning aspect of it.
Doctor, you're so right too. And as many of the parents that are watching this right now, maybe some of the parents, maybe they've worked at a small business and they have perhaps had to look over resumes. And the first thing they do is probably go to Google, as many employers do, and say, this young woman, this young man looks so incredible. I can only see yes. to one of these candidates. And that can be for a college. Maybe there's a full ride scholarship opportunity. Parents, you've all heard of this, and we need to instill this into your children. I would argue, okay, if there's one full ride opportunity here, it's so many good kids. If they're going to give a 4-year full ride, or maybe even just a year, they're going to look at this great application. Or maybe for a restaurant that wants to hire somebody that becomes a part of their brand, they're going to look at this resume for that summer job. They're probably going to go to Google because they have to say no to so many other people. And that's where the superintendent is so right on. They're going to look at that brand online. And I come from Disney brand marketing many years ago. What do they see? Do they see a representative of all the good things the kid is doing? Or do they see other people because the student hasn't put anything online to start occupying that first page of Google results to show up for the interview, as I call it? Oh, my kid isn't online at all. I want you to think about parents showing up for the interview by starting to put at the age of 16 and above with parental permission to make sure your student is ready emotionally, psychologically, and responsibly to be online. Then we start thinking about that stuff. So this is the only one that I comment so much on, doctor, because it is so important. There is a positive, bright light out there. We'd like to tell parents. Doctor, the next big question we get from not only school districts and schools and principals and counselors, but most importantly, are parents. When do I give my kids access to not only social media, but a device? And I'd like your insights on this answer. Doctor, do you have any recommendations for parents on when they might give a phone or social media access to students, and whether it's elementary school, middle school, high school? Give us some insights on what you would recommend for parents.
My recommendation would include, first and foremost, establishing why students are being presented with a device or with a cell phone. What is the intended purpose for its use? And once you've defined what that purpose and use is, to establish safeguards around its utilization. That's teaching online safety. That's teaching responsibility with maintaining the cell phone if you're giving them a cell phone. But I would also encourage parents to ensure that they're putting parental safeguards on the devices so that they will have access to their children's whereabouts and to be able to monitor their activity. So once you've established the intended purpose, and to begin educating our children on the responsible way in which they will use their cell phones and the devices, I think that the earliest age I would suggest would probably be grade 3. We're talking about individuals who are able to read and comprehend the content that they're accessing on those devices. And that's where it begins to make the largest impact. I think that if students are younger than the 3rd grade, once they begin to utilize a cell phone, again, it must be maintained in a responsible manner. I know that every child comes from a different household with different expectations. So I do believe it goes with intended purpose and making sure we're educating our children and being responsible. With the number of districts that are one-to-one with the use of devices, I know that many school districts begin to have students take home their devices in 3rd grade, but they have access to it from kindergarten to 3rd grade. So it's really joining the schools and making sure we're teaching online safety, making sure we're teaching responsibility, but we're also, as the adults, monitoring because we want to ensure the safety of our children.
What an excellent approach. I love that because you're working with the schools, and every one of you parents, you know that the principals, counselors, and especially the teachers are there to support you, help you, and love your children. I want to throw in one more thing, doctor, that we've been hearing from our millions of users that has been really helpful as I'm going to call it a training wheel phone. What does that mean? We don't throw kids on a bike sometimes and just say, figure out how to balance. There are tools out there, and we don't get paid by them. There's a tool called the Pinwheel phone, the Gab wireless phone, the Bark phone. We love them all. Let's use Bark as an example. Bark has a watered down smartphone, so the kids won't get bullied with a flip phone that some parents might want to buy. They have a smartphone that only has features that the parents can turn on, which is phone. Maybe they can take some photos. Maybe they won't be able to send the photos to anyone. You can see every contact who's called them, texted them, or anything else, and you can limit certain features. You can also make it so that no social media can ever be downloaded on that very special phone, and it will kill 90% of the screen time addiction on that device, which is beautiful. Parents go, yeah, the rule is they get a phone and they have to pick up when mom calls or dad calls. And immediately, because there's no social media, the kids leave it in their book bag and they don't have a use for it, but they have a device that they can call me if it's. So please, parents, be aware of that. We call them training wheels devices, phones, and it really reduces the screen time, but lets them see and model positive behavior of picking up, of answering a text only to mom and dad. and so on. So, doctor, the next thing that parents are asking us a lot is what makes these apps that we're seeing so addictive? And this is the hottest topic. Let's dive into a little video of real students.
I think the most addictive part about social media is the constant new content that you see. You're always being introduced to new content, especially on apps like TikTok. I think the short videos, when they end so quick, you start to lose your ability to have a longer attention span. I've caught myself finding long TikTok videos and I can't stand watching the whole thing.
This generation really adapted to the fact that we don't have a large attention span. We really only concentrate for 30 seconds. So getting information that quickly, I think, enables us to just want to keep watching more. You don't even need to care about what they're presenting to you, but just the fact that you can sit there and watch it and you're oddly enjoying it. Social media is pretty addictive. People said it's like a drug. So it is addictive because you can't stop watching it. Your mind just plays on loop and it enjoys the fulfillment of everything firing in your brain to just keep watching.
Doctor, another question that parents ask us a lot is social media positive or negative for my child? For all the parents watching, let's hear from a student and learn why they think video apps are so addictive.
Part of what makes social media so addictive is how the algorithms are based on using content to judge whether or not someone's worthy and using people's short attention spans to evaluate them as pieces of code, which also means that social media doesn't really care about your opinion, but really what keeps you on that platform longer, whether that's from likes, comments of engagement, sharing it to other people, or even just watching it through. The algorithm judges you as a piece of data and whether or not someone should be praised for being controversial or thrown away for not being exciting enough, even if they're pouring their heart and soul into the content. It is a heartless beast. When I spend too much time on social media, that can look like being happy because something really cool happened in my friend's life. They went hiking. A friend I saw snow for the first time a couple of days ago, and it can make me feel very happy and energized. But other times, it can just be really draining. It can be really negative. It depends who I'm following. It depends what's being posted.
We've heard from two different types of insights from real students, and I want to remind and just take a moment. Thank you to all the many school districts that partner with us so that we can host weekly live parent events and replays. I used to, as one of the top social media safety speakers, fly to your city and give a great parent night. Those days are gone. We do 52 of them a year, all year long. And now we have teen-led video lessons. Thank you to all of our partner school districts that show the very videos I just showed. We have 200 of those. They show them at school and people come to the live events. And we have the best premium parent newsletter. Principals feel this way. We had 50 social media incidents per year last year, Josh. Now we're down to 5 incidents, and I have more time to be a school principal again. This is what Deron Wilson, one of my dear friends, and a director of engagement, Josh, the 50+ live events give our community a chance to join on their phone without software on a date and time that works with their schedule. And there's a replay. And last, Tom Butler, superintendent. We can't stay updated on all the latest apps, so we appreciate Smart Social keeping our 8,000 parents in the know. Thank you to our many school district partners in 29 different states for letting us serve you with these live events designed for parents. Coming up to all of our partners, October was anti-bullying month, where we have the best show for parents live, and every parent gets a $5 gift card for showing up. November is disappearing messages month, the hidden dangers parents need to know, taught by real superintendents, real psychologists, real students, and it is a jam-packed program. December is parental controls. January, February, March, April, May. We got a lot of great stuff. Here's what parents say. I learned that when my child shares something, the issue is likely larger than they first suggest. It's important not to over or underreact knowing this. Real parents at real schools. I found it helpful to learn what is and is not considered cyberbullying. And last, I learned more about social media that my kids want to use, as well as helpful tips to understand my teen's communication with her friends. We're so thankful to the hundreds of parents that give us live feedback in lots of different districts. Okay, doctor, we are back to the program. So my next question for you is about avoiding strangers and dangerous situations online. I got to tell you, this is the scariest one, doctor, and I'd love your insight on this. What is your advice to parents and students to avoid talking to strangers and avoiding dangerous situations online?
I believe the first step is, as I mentioned previously, having those conversations with our children, having ongoing conversations, regardless as to their age, about the importance of remaining safe. Whether it's looking in the phone settings or your video game console to ensure that your location is not active, and that you're not
Mm.
disclosing your confidential information. When students like to take selfies, making sure that their surroundings it does not give away any information that's personally identifiable, like a license plate or the address to your home. All of those points need to be driven home regularly with our children. Our responsibility is to make sure our students are safe at all times. And so there is a belief out there that it only occurs with just the cell phone. I would like to make sure parents understand that it also takes place with video consoles and within their devices of their smartphones, their smartwatches, anything that has connection to the internet or social media presents a danger for our children. So I think the continuous conversations as well as the monitoring of our students will allow us to have our children enjoy the safeties of the internet and the use of social media.
Such a great insight because it's so true. And a lot of parents think, oh, my child is not on social media, doctor, so they're fine. But you're right. If they're on Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, or any of the other apps that to all of our partner parents, you have full access to look at the reviews and learn how to deep dive into those apps and get targeted tips from our trusted parent researchers. That absolutely is a way for them to communicate with others. So I love that insight. I think that was really, really valid and great. So the next question I have for you is right on topic. It's on video games. What is your advice to parents and teens about video game safety and managing video game screen time?
I think establishing a specific time where all children are monitored while they're online. Understand that there is no age range to individuals who are participating with online gaming, but that we continue to monitor our children so that they're not putting their personally identifiable information, their name, their age, their location on those game sites to interact with individuals that they don't know who is on the other end interacting with them. So for our students, and I'm using the term students, but for our children, and our parents, just making sure they are monitored, that we are limiting the amount of time by giving specific times in which the consoles or the online gaming can take place within a household. Because first and foremost, we want to make sure that you have studied and done your schoolwork and all your chores before you're able to get onto those platforms to enjoy that time. But just limiting, because what we do know is that the length of time that an individual has access to screen time, it also impacts their mental health. And so we want to make sure that our students are not only physically safe, but they're mentally safe as well. I think that it's most important that if we as adults understand what our children are engaging in, that we could better understand ways in which we can safeguard them. And I think one of the ways in which we can do it is to interact and play with them. You would have to be okay with probably losing, but at least you can participate with our children to make sure that they are safe in the manner in which they're utilizing those devices. But we can also monitor the age limit of those games as well, because that's another safe point. But I do believe that engaging with our students, that gives opportunity for you to interact with your child by participating with those platforms online and playing the games as well.
Doctor, the next topic that we get from parents a lot is let's talk about screen time and motivation. And when I mean motivation, what I mean is as the summer approaches, I know we're far away from that, but as summer approaches, screen time goes up and motivation to do the important things goes down. That's chores. That's a little bit of summer studies or getting up early and all these other things. So we want kids' motivation to be high and also a little bit of screen time. What is your advice to parents about the impact of screen time on motivation for homework, chores, and other important tasks for teens to be successful?
I think there needs to be a balance. We need to prioritize what the responsibilities of our children are when they're at home and away from school. And I think that utilizing online mechanisms or technology should also be a rewarded or an incentive approach. You're responsible for completing these specific tasks or for doing certain schoolwork. And once you've completed those and completed those well, then you will earn the opportunity to interact with your device, to go online and to do social media or to play those video games. But I do believe that there has to be a balance. We talk about screen time again. We want to make sure that our students and our children also have access to interact with other human beings face to face. It helps to improve our communication skills, and we don't want our students to lose those skills because, in the way of the world, they're not always going to be online, but how are they going to respond to another individual? So I think there has to be a balance in terms of the amount of time that they're online or utilizing their devices, but also to have it as a reward or a motivating tool for them to complete the other tasks that they're responsible for.
Doctor, that was some great insight. I couldn't agree more and love your approach on this. Now, for all of you watching right now, thanks again to the dozens and dozens, if not 100 school districts across 29 states that are using our weekly live parent events to show our 30 to 45-minute incredible program in 12 different languages, our teen-led video lessons in there, and our premium parent newsletter. We have an incredible lineup coming up with disappearing messages. And then around the holidays, every kid seems to get a new phone. So we're teaching every single parent in multi-language how to set up screen time before they get that phone so that you can manage that around the holidays and the new year. In the new year, it's all about shining online. I don't care if your kids are in elementary school or middle school. We're going to teach them how to get to their future, which is shining online before they get those social media apps. And then February, March, April, May are all about getting ready for that summer so that we can keep your family safe, so they can be successful and shine online. I want to thank you, Doctor, for coming here today. I really appreciate your time.
Let me just extend that back to you and your team for taking such a serious approach to a very serious matter that impacts our well-being of our children. Our responsibility is to ensure not only that they're learning in school, but they're also safe while they're in school and while they're at home. So thank you and your team for the opportunity and for the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Doctor. I really enjoyed your insights today. So great to have that experience here on the podcast. For the rest of you watching, as the title of my book, a shameless plug, says, remember whenever you're posting anything online to keep it light, bright, and polite because our kids are watching. I'm Josh Oakes, the founder of smartsocial.com. I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks to everybody. Have a great rest of the day.